guys, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie and I'm a wedding photographer here in the lovely state of North Carolina, and all the dogs are in the office right now, so this is fun. You're gonna hear them, I don't know if you can see them, playing. They're excited for some reason. Can you guys be quiet? Today I wanted to quickly go over my top 10 or 11 go-to poses on wedding day for my couples. You can also apply this, as I do, to engagement session or just posing couples in general. I wanted to go over my go-to poses that I kind of cycle through on engagement sessions and wedding days. So if you are shooting your first wedding or you just want to have more pose ideas, hopefully this is gonna help you. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so the first pose that I want to go over and is the most important couples pose on wedding day is the standard portrait. I have it first for a reason, because it's the most important and often overlooked pose. I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, like 2 or 3 videos ago, talking about these are the kinds of photos that I have to get on wedding day. The standard portrait is nothing special. You just have your arms around each other, you're both facing and smiling at the camera, but it is one of those photos that is often sent to friends or family, mostly family, and put in albums and you use it as your profile picture or whatever. It's just a photo that is really nice to have, but it's not artistic. It's nothing, it's just standard, so we often forget about it for the sake of being creative. So that's why I'm putting it first. Also, all the dogs are chewing one bone in this room, and they just all ran out. All right. The life of having 3 dogs. I always start with the standard portrait pose and kind of flow into some other poses. And now all the dogs are back in here. So I usually start having them stand side by side. You can throw arms around each other. You have the bouquet kind of at your belly button, and you're just smiling and looking at the camera. You can touch your heads together. You can kind of go through different variations. The second pose that I usually have them do most of the time from that standard portrait is to look at each other. Just looking at each other, no matter kind of what pose you're in. If you're smiling at the camera, okay, now look at each other. It's just a really easy way to get like very sweet moments with the couple. Even if you have maybe her hand wrapped around his arm like he's escorting her and you're smiling at the camera, okay, smile and look at each other. It's just a really simple pose, and it just makes for really sweet moments. You get them like looking at each other, and especially on wedding day, like they just got married and they're really excited and it's super cute. So I always add that in there. But most of the time it is from that standard portrait. Okay, now look over at each other. You get a bit more emotion and candid feeling that way, and I don't know, just I think it makes for a really sweet photo. So continuing on is the touching foreheads. Also, I didn't name any of these. This is literally just what I call them, so if you have a better name, like go ahead, call it that, whatever. I call this one touching foreheads because you guessed it, they're gonna touch foreheads. You can either have them look at each other, which I've been told is a weird angle, or you can have them kind of have a soft gaze looking down or closing their eyes. They get nice and close and they touch foreheads. Now I'm gonna get into like more veil shots later, but it's a great one to do with the veil, like having them underneath the veil, having them touch heads and getting nice and close. So that was like a little sneak peek pose. So just have them look at each other, wrap their arms around each other, and touch foreheads. I always have them close their eyes, but that's up to you. The fourth pose that I have my couples do is a forehead or a temple kiss. Usually the guy would kiss the girl. In most instances, that's usually my default. So I will have them oftentimes touching foreheads. Okay, now give her a kiss on the forehead. And again, if you're under a veil, it makes for a beautiful photo. And then sometimes if you kind of nuzzle them together with his forehead on her temple, he can give a quick kiss on the temple as well. Just kind of kissing her head, face region, but not the mouth, like up here. Again, just a very sweet pose. One of the ones that I incorporate a lot in my photo sessions. I think, okay, now kiss her on the forehead. It's great for photo, and it's also great for video. So a lot of the poses that I do that incorporate a lot of movement help out the videographer that I'm working with as well. And I think videographers kind of appreciate when you do add movement into your posing versus just like the standard stuff. So like I said before, I'm jumping all over the place, but when I said look at each other, you could have the standard portrait, and them looking at each other is really great for video. Or it could be. I mean, I'm not a videographer. Okay, the fifth pose is spooning, but for me, I really like the bride to be behind the groom and kind of like snuggle in there, and I really like that shot, especially the one where, you know, he could be looking off in the distance and she's like looking at the camera. Oh, I think that's so beautiful. I also do kind of a spooning, hug behind pose in engagement sessions, and I do that most of the time with the guy behind the girl. I really like having the bride behind the groom. So this is kind of a two-in-one kind of pose. So you can have the bride behind the groom or the groom behind the bride. I like it because they like snuggle in there, or I have them sway with each other, again adding movement for video. And I think the movement adds for like real reaction because they'll smile or they'll giggle or whatever, or they'll trip and fall, like who knows. Also, I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs chewing all their bones in the background. I have the microphone, but they're also here. I'm sorry in advance. Okay, pose 6 is the veil shot. Now there's a couple different poses in the veil shot, so I will be covering a couple. So this is like a couple poses in one pose, okay? If the veil is long enough, I love bringing it in front of my camera and getting that like swoopy veil shot. Have them look at each other, kiss forehead, whatever. They can smile and look at you if you really want, but I just love that swoopy veil shot. Also, if the veil is long enough, you can put them underneath the veil. Like I said, they can look at each other, they can kiss foreheads, they can kiss whatever they want to do, they can smile at you. Dealer's choice. Underneath, I also really like getting black and whites of those. Again, having that like veil all around them. I think it's really, really beautiful. But one of my all-time favorite veil shots is the veil toss. I will put in some photos of that. So if you have a second photographer, great. If you not, like you just grab a bridesmaid or a family member or a groomsman, whoever, to hold the veil up, and then 1, 2, 3, they'll toss it and kind of run away, and you get that like beautiful like floating veil. I don't know why I like it so much. It's just cool, I think, and you kind of get, I don't know. I just really like it. Definitely try to incorporate that. If the veil's not super long, you can still try to incorporate some of these, but sometimes, you know, it's not super possible depending on the length of the veil. You can try doing this swooping veil shot, maybe have someone hold it so you can back up a little bit. You can still do the veil toss. It'll just be a little bit smaller, but it'll still look really cool. I really like playing with the veil a lot on wedding day, especially if it is long enough to do a lot with. So try some of these out at your next wedding. Okay, pose number 7 is walking towards the camera. Again, a couple poses in this one pose. I'll have them hold hands, and usually I'll have the bride hold her dress and the groom will hold the flowers. Sometimes the bride can walk and hold the flowers, that's totally fine. But depending on how big or long the train is of her dress, like the poofiness of the dress, it's easier for her to hold on to her dress and the groom to hold the flowers. It just depends. But I'll have them walk towards the cameras, and usually, okay, you're gonna smile at me for a couple. Okay, now look at each other and smile. Again, adding movement, having them look at each other and some looking at the camera is really great for photo and video. Okay, pose number 8, but let's be real, it's like 20 at this point, is the twirl. One of my favorite photos. I've said that about all the poses, but if they have a flowy dress, it works really well, but sometimes they don't have a flowy dress and they still want to do it and it looks beautiful. So just have them twirl underneath, have that swoopy dress action. You know what I mean? I usually have them hold hands, and then I have her kind of just like swoop her skirt, and it is really, really fun. I think the couple looks like they're having really fun. Again, also great for video, but it's also just a really pretty shot, especially have this like long flowy dress and you want that like, I don't know, all the tools swirling. Like, I mean, you're in a beautiful dress, you gotta twirl. So I like to do twirl photos, but sometimes, you know, your couple doesn't want to do a twirl photo, and that's totally fine. Sometimes sleeves are a thing where you can't raise your arm like above a certain place, that's totally fine. I should have mentioned this in the beginning, is all these poses, make sure that your couple is comfortable doing them, because if they're not comfortable doing any of these poses, then it's going to show in the photos. So make sure that they're cool with this, and if they can't, like I said before, it depends on what they're wearing or what they're comfortable with. Don't have them do it, have them do something else or a variation of it. I've skipped some of these poses altogether because they can't raise their elbow above their shoulder. This is as far as they can go. Okay, number 9. Another shot that I really like to get is a close-up of the rings. Again, I feel like this is a shot that is often overlooked on wedding day because, I don't know, I think I just forget sometimes. So oftentimes I'll have them just put their hands on each other and get those shots, or put them on the flowers. It's a really simple and easy shot. If you find anywhere where they can sit down and put their hands on their lap, that's the easiest way, in my opinion, to get a nice shot. But otherwise, I'll have them just place them on the flowers or something like that to get both of their rings. And the 10th/11th pose idea is a dip. I like the dip and kiss kind of photos. It's, again, going to really depend on how comfortable your couple is with this, and the flexibility of the dress, because sometimes it's just not possible. Sometimes, if they have a bad back, they can't do a dipping pose. It's just out of the question, totally fine. But I usually ask them if they want to do a big dramatic one or if they want to do a little one, and kind of leave it up to them. But I really like the way that these dipping photos look. It looks just very dramatic and amazing. Another one, this is why I said 10/11, dipping, or I suggest a lift, which again will depend on how comfortable they are doing that. It will depend on their dress. All the other things that apply to the dip will also apply to the lift, because some people just don't want that, but some people are totally game, and I think it's really, really pretty. I do this a lot in engagement sessions, because usually they're in more comfortable clothes where they're totally fine with this kind of lift. But wedding day, it's just really pretty. I like it. It's fun. It's different. I actually had one wedding where the bride lifted the groom, and it was the best. She loved those photos. It's a great pose, either a dip or a lift you can incorporate, but I would definitely check with your couple on that. That was a lot of poses thrown at you really quickly. Do you have some of your favorite poses that you do on wedding day or with couples? Please let us know in the comments down below. I hope you found these poses helpful. Always, above everything, make sure your couple is comfortable with any pose that you're trying to do. Make sure they feel confident, because it will always show in the photos. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!